Trevor, tomorrow we start a female transformation that we're going to be using the Magnalone intramuscular administration. We haven't decided yet what dosage we're going to put her on. She's 105 pounds. She's, I would say, a novice lifter. People are going to think we're absolutely insane for putting a girl on this compound. But what do you think? This is for the extreme transformation for the documentary and for the furtherance of science and full disclosure.
We are not doing
full
anything.
Disclaimers.
She is doing it.
She is doing it. We're not doing it. She's doing it. But we're documenting it for the documentary. What dosage do you think she's going to end up taking?
So this, again, when you're, I guess, pioneering, when you're the ones doing it the first time, or not the first time, but being able to get this raw data with her, okay, so we've gone as high as 25 milligrams on a female, and we gave this to her multiple times. She had no side effects. She had no side effects until she took Winstrol. And again, oral Winstrol versus inject. So 25 milligrams, and which was way too high, but the results were so great, it was like, might as well keep doing it if there was no side effects, no viralization. That's, before we even get to that, I'll just explain real quick why these are so much different, especially for females. I already replaced most of, well, I had girl athletes before. I only have some friends now who are doing it, but I always replace their steroid cycles with SARMs. Anavar very rarely, but there is even the Ohio, I can't even think of Arnold Classic. I'm so out of the loop now, but she didn't take anything but a little Anavar at one point, just SARMs. So that's the oral, right? Now we've gone as high as 25 milligrams and got these results. So women can now completely disregard steroids. You don't have to see or hear the voice of a female speaking like a man, especially if it's a girlfriend or a family member or someone you care about.
But we have seen women get a deeper voice from high dosage SARMs.
Yes. So again, LGD, really not the problem. The half-life is the problem too. But it all comes back to here. When this is being broken down, that liver pass is so crucial to this, because what happens when we're talking this DHT, the metabolite from SHBG crash, go back to the DHEA. You go back to this, right? This regulatory, this.
You would call that like the parent hormone that is broken down into the pre-hormone.
Homeostasis with estrogen, testosterone is, let's just say, to make things simple, the DHEA, and we offset this by doing it orally. So what happens is, because of this, now it's unregulated. So females are getting massive amounts, and they're getting the viralization. The massive amounts is what's converting that DHT, also the metabolite, into a more potent form. So women are getting viralization due to that effect.
From steroids. Or from high dosage oral SARMs.
Yeah,
okay.
Both. So we take that out. Aside from something like an S23 or maybe a YK, we're not getting these effects on women. We didn't get it at 25 milligrams. Doesn't mean it's non-existent, but that's to show you steroids are, you can throw them away now with females.
Yeah, to put it in context, we've had a lot of females run oral SARMs with no side effects. No visual side effects, nothing crazy on the blood work, just pure benefits. But then as they go up in dosage, of course, the benefits increase, and so do the side effects start revealing themselves. Ligandrol, we've noticed a lot less side effects. Most women who take Ligandrol experience no side effects at a low dosage of like 5 milligrams every day for a fairly built female, or 5 milligrams every other day. Now, since the Magnalone is so much more bioavailable, so much more potent, if normally a woman is taking 5 milligrams, and this isn't just for women, this dialogue helps you understand the science of how these compounds work, because it applies to men as well. If a woman is normally taking 5 milligrams orally every day, what kind of Magnalone dosage would we be looking at?
So we truly don't know, but I could say if they were doing 5 milligrams a day, something like 500 micros to a milligram.
Like 1/10 the dosage?
Well, yeah, and I'm going to just refer back to that compounding pharmacy who is giving an Ostarine 500 microgram in 2 injections, so milligram is what that dose is. So compare similar. Now, females, they tend to take less of anything, but
Usually
we don't.
females take about 1/10 the dosage of what a man takes, right?
But because it's from the sex hormone, right? So they're getting viralization and issues. Now they don't. So 1 milligram, I would say, would be about the highest to equal 5 milligram. But that I'm just throwing that out of my ass completely right now, because it's not just bioavailability anymore. So we got to get our heads away from that, even though there is a big jump. But women, they might be able to take higher doses for the first time, and you might actually see females get a beautiful physique with none of the side effects.
So for the female, again, not advising any of you guys, just academic discussion. For the female who wanted to have more extreme effects, like bodybuilding muscle, build muscle in an extreme period of time, kind of like the female transformation, then she could go higher on the dosage, even on the Magnalone, than she could on the oral with even potentially less side effects?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so back to what dosage we think we're going to put, back to, let me rephrase, back to what dosage this girl might take that we might document for the movie. We're thinking...
I'm going to just repeat what she did orally. So that same dose she did orally, we're going to do that same dose, and then I know what those...
Oh, that's right. She took it before oral.
And she had side effects, and I remember how much she grew during that time, and then we can now compare. I mean, she is bigger and leaner now, so it might take more things for her, but I guarantee you at the same dose she's going to definitely grow.
Okay. In cycle lengths, I notice that I prefer to do much shorter cycles with SARMs because it's so easy to switch from one SARM to another, keep the body guessing. First of all, do you think there's a benefit into switching compounds? And when do you think, how long do you think one can go, or I could go, before there's sort of a plateau, before the benefits start decreasing because the body is sort of getting used to the compound?
Okay, so that's a big whole topic in itself. I'll give it to you briefly.
Each one of these subtopics we do, like you said, this is a big topic. We'll do a separate video on it later. So this is an overview and discussion of the things to come in more detail later. So go ahead, your quick overview.
Okay, so one, they're, again, different from hormones, pro-drug, active drug, right? Sometimes we get a biological effect from the hormone that is from all the other hormones. We're comparing side effects of this. But some of these other hormones are causing muscle growth too, right? And so when this happens, homeostasis will adapt to it because of this hormone, and you get too many side effects have to come off or lower dose, and then your growth stops. The second is we always go back to myostatin. If you go any direction, I always bring this up, one direction too long, your body is always going to fight it with homeostasis. So by switching compounds, just in the simple form of you have a partial agonist like YK11, and then we have Ligandrol, which is bound 24 hours. We could rotate compounds and have different effects and actually play with that myostatin. But again, it'll come more towards diet. I do believe in it for steroids 100% because of side effects, but now we're getting rid of side effects. It's not as important. It comes back more to diet, training, cardio, how to manipulate these phases so myostatin doesn't catch on. And then we do have another SARM that lowers myostatin tremendously. So much more in the injectable version, and we need to do some more testing for Magnalone on that.
I'm still trying to figure out what steroid or performance enhancing drug we can relate Magnalone to. And the first thing that comes to mind is D-ball, because when we were talking about the oral Ligandrol, people are reporting they feel like they're getting a little bit of water retention. Nothing near the amount of water retention as DECA or growth hormone or even anadrol. Nothing like that. I haven't seen that kind of water retention. But they say a little bit of bloating, a little bit of water retention.
Looks like so, got that.
And so that's why, and Ligandrol is known to be like the bulker, like putting on the most amount of mass of the SARMs. Although we'll do some future videos on some SARMs that can rival Ligandrol for that purpose, dosage dependent, diet and training dependent. So that's why people relate it to D-ball. But first of all, I've used injectable D-ball, and injectable D-ball doesn't even come close to Magnalone. You can't even relate the two. I'd say the closest thing to me is like Magnalone is like a high dosage of oral D-ball without the bloating and without the positive mental effects, because I just don't experience any mental effects from Magnalone versus D-ball. I actually feel like really happy and excited to work out, and Magnalone I just feel, once I start working out, I feel like I can't stop. I feel like I can keep training and it feels great, but I don't really have that jumpstart mental, not aggression, but motivation that some of the other steroids carry along. So I guess it's closest to D-ball for me, but what do you think? Let's relate it to some other ones.
Yes, the first time I did it and worked out, the first thing I said was, this feels like when I did I did a 100 milligram D-ball experiment, but again, I've already was doing 50s at previous cycles, so that difference to me was a little bit different than what you would have at 100. But I remember the feeling and the pump and energy when it came to the endurance in the training was comparable to that of the 100 milligrams of D-ball. But in 3 days of that D-ball experiment, I couldn't eat. I physically couldn't even eat. Bloated, sick, very liver toxic, and there's none of that with the or Magnalone when I did it. So I would compare it to D-ball with zero side effects. However, like you said, when I did take D-ball, I always had a positive mood, and I don't get that. I don't get any change at all, which you shouldn't with these anyway.
You know, with D-ball, I instantly bloat up. Like I instantly fill out.
That's the other thing.
And I don't get that with the Magnalone, which I don't know that. I guess it's good to have that nice quick bloat, but the problem is the bloating gets worse and worse the longer we're on D-ball.
So what happens is it's the spillover. That's what happens on D-ball, and again, that's a side effect. So when you first take it, no bloating. You get the water, but it's all intercellular. That's where it starts going. Spills over. Now we're a bloated mess. I've never gotten that spillover on anyone's experiment for Magnalone, and so that's why I say without the side effects, you keep the intracellular swelling, but never spills over, and that's because it's the side effect. We don't get that anymore.
Yeah, and let's compare it to Trenbolone. There's no comparison because they're completely different. It would take too long to say all the differences, but they just act so differently. It's not worth. I would say that Magnalone puts a lot more size than Trenbolone by itself, but Trenbolone stacked with other things could be very synergistic as a steroid stack.
Until we find out, yeah. So
but
I would say
Magnalone could also be stacked with things that do similar things that Trenbolone does to replace it, which is the goal, which is what I set out to do a long time ago, how to replace the more hardcore, more dangerous steroids with healthier compounds.
So this doesn't give you Alzheimer's, at least what we know of, and this doesn't have a direct impact on your kidney just by filtering it.
Yeah, less side effects, of course. All right, you have related this to Primobolan, which I disagree with heavily, right?
No,
Did you?
Oral versus inject.
You're saying. Oh, I see. You were saying the Primobolan oral versus the Primobolan injectable
side
is
effects
similar to the difference between oral Ligandrol but you wouldn't compare Magnalone to.
I only do that so to give you a comparison that when you take an injectable and then give it orally, the side effects of this are completely different on a whole nother level, even though it's a sex hormone.
I also wouldn't compare this to Anadrol. I mean, Anadrol is great for size, but has a lot of side effects and a lot of potential bloating, difficult eating, a lot of strain on the liver, so hard to compare.
I would give this in comparison with strength to Anadrol, probably 7.5, Anadrol 10, maybe.
So what else could we compare? Equipoise. I never ran Equipoise long enough to see any benefit of Equipoise, although I know a lot of people who love it and look amazing at competition. But personally, I like faster acting things, and unfortunately, the faster acting sort of Equipoise is like D-ball. So
I think cell volumization, and we can just leave it there. cell volumization, the pumps, the strength, like a D-ball, no side effects.
So what else? DECA, I wouldn't relate it to DECA at all because DECA to me is
the joint
for bloating joint strength. This doesn't seem to help my joints, does it?
This one, when you keep taking it, I definitely noticed it because when I did come off, the joints got worse. 100%.
So this did help your joints?
Over time, yeah, 100%. Because of the water too, which is why I believed things like S23, S4.
So when you took a really high dosage of this, were you holding some water?
Yeah, but not when we're talking like bloat. I never had any bloat whatsoever. I definitely was holding water because my weight skyrocketed on it every single time. Always does.
Oh,
and always comes.
I should have started the video by saying I'm on this right now. I mean that's kind of a relevant fact because that's what I look like right now is me on this and TRT. That's it. Oh, I added in one other compound yesterday, but the days before that I was only on that and a TRT. Yeah, and so that's what the result is. I'm not really holding any water. I'm pretty full. I need a lot of carbs though because I was running 50 milligrams per day, and today I took only 25 milligrams. Oh, because I took 25 milligrams last night. I took it again this morning, so I'm basically still 50 milligrams a day of this, and I noticed that I get flat really easy. I feel like I'm carb depleted really fast.
On Magnalone?
Yeah, at 50 milligrams. I still feel like,
because you don't.
I mean, nowhere near the other one we'll talk about in another video, but I still feel like it's chewing through my glycogen in my muscles.
So especially after your last transformation, it is true. The size you are carrying now needs so much more calories that when you take, I mean, you can go back to steroids, it'll be a similar thing too. Your you just don't eat enough. And remember how much you ate on that transformation? You lost fat and you grew.
So you don't think it's unique to this compound? It's just the fact that I'm taking a high dosage of an anabolic compound.
Yes, because the milligrams you're taking versus how much hormones it would have to take to get to that point, that would take like a Trenbolone and a high dose with, say, Masterone or something.
Okay. So as you guys can see, we have a lot of unfinished research, which is why we rely not only on each other and our test subject and friends around us, but you guys too. That's also how we learn. Of course, the weight of the facts that you give us might be less than the ones that we can actually supervise or we control the variables and everything the HPLC tested, but it's still very valuable because if 100 of you send us your lab work and we can see what it all has in common, then we actually have some anecdotal evidence.
So
what email address, Trevor, could people send this lab work to if they get lab work on the Magnalone for us to analyze to continue to learn and publish?
Support at EA Inner Circle.
Support. I'll write it.
No,
I'll write it in the video.
I thought you said you were going to
You
reset.
want to write it there? I'll write it in the video.
Okay.
So go ahead, jump in.
Support.
So ask him the question one more time. And then
What email address do you want people to send the lab work to for us to analyze more anecdotal reports of Magnalone?
Support at eainnercircle.com. Please, even if it's another one outside of Magnalone, send the most information you can, what you did previously to what you're doing. Try to be as controlled in all your variables, but send them as many as you can get, as many as you can do. Friends, send them in. That way we can get this information, because what happens is, even if some of them are skewed, everyone's will be skewed at some point. At least we can say, look at this graph. We have 100 people are getting this side effect always, or they're not getting this side effect. So the more we have, we can actually pinpoint things even closer as well that are just theory.
Yeah, so let us know what other compounds you're on. If you're using that, what other compounds are you taking with it, and just be smart about it. If you have a side effect like hair loss, think about what other things because that's not going to happen.
But if it does happen, we can then pinpoint, okay, we're getting this side effect. So now what are we going to do? We're going to look for every which way that this could be happening. We can check metabolite. We can check the conversion, a 5-alpha reductase enzyme increase. Whatever it is, we can check for it, but that's how we'll pinpoint it.